Okay, this is maybe number 4 for today. It's pretty. It's actually my prayer spot. I think somebody is fishing close to where I normally go, walk down. This is fine. You know, I passed just on that drive. I went and got my laptop. I was getting it worked on. It's just a part, like a $12 part, but they were supposed to have it done yesterday. This morning I used my backup laptop to do the other posts, which was fine. I fixed somewhat. I fixed that one, I said the other day. But I couldn't keep waiting for this one. This one works on and off, but I got to replace it. So I think he thought I'd be upset. Because I said, look, I'm here to pick up my laptop. I just got it. He said, we didn't get to it yet. And I said, well, I'll pay you for the part, and I need to pick up my laptop. So he thought, I was upset. And so the part was 12, but I gave him a 20. And I said, no, just keep that. Because the diagnostic fee I saw on the wall there is $60. So people can't just bring it in, have them tell you what it needs. I kind of knew what I needed on it anyway. So I said, no, that's fine, brother. I didn't pay a diagnostic fee, so keep it. The $8 for the extra. And I passed up 2 cops just driving. And this hopefully will benefit why maybe all of the last videos, the last few days, my rollouts, all of those things I have blogged on, videoed, talked about, none of that is new. None of that is new. Now, when I passed up those 2 cop cars, whenever I see one, you thought for other reasons, maybe the nice cop thought, I think what they have done here in the Bluff when I'm working with the street guys, because of various times where they have come up about the cigarette butts, they probably said, stay away from him. Maybe they thought I'm dangerous because they did indeed tell Claire, John's got a gun, watch out for John. Maybe they really believe I am dangerous. I don't know. Maybe they believe that. And all of these scenarios, actual stories I've given you, really there's only been violence on one side. Not only threats of violence and violence by one side, not my side. And I do find it amazing that they watch for every single thing you say. If you walk a straight line, but yet some elements of the department have made threats verbally multiple times to many, many people over many, many years, carried those threats out. Say, well, we dealt with it the best we could, John. So what all of that has created in me when I passed up those 2 cop cars just 40 minutes ago, they were just on the highway. As soon as I see them, I have a sense of not, what a fine job. I have a sense of, you never know if it's the good or the bad. I heard Bill O'Reilly this morning. As I was doing my routine, I listened to news, talk radio, and they were actually talking somewhat about the cultural. But O'Reilly said, his father was a New York City cop back in the day. And basically, he said how a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement and those that talk about it, how he's against them. And his experience, I guess, as his father, as a New York City cop, when Bill O'Reilly was young, their world experience, the ones that do criticize Black Lives Movement, their world experience is different than those who have developed the other mindset of you're not, when a young black girl, but there's a lot of criticism that the federal government went in and kind of sued the Ferguson Police Department a few years ago because of many, many stories. And as I watched media, one story was a young black girl who got a ticket for jaywalking. She was young. Her mom couldn't pay the fine, and the mom went to jail. One story. And when I listen to some of the voices of those whose experience was negative, you can identify with every time a particular person might see a cop vehicle, they don't have a good impression. Now, what about the good cops? I have a sense that they probably said, being the few times cops have come up to me when I was in the park trying to do what I do, you call that friendship evangelism. You become friends with people. You spend time with people. That's the ministry of Jesus was. They accused him he was a friend of sinners. Now, in order to accomplish spending time with people, maybe to some of those cops it looks like, oh, maybe John's, just, no, that's a part of my mission for many years. And when you spend time with people, and they know John doesn't drink, they know John has rules, my street friends, they know whenever I give them a ride, I tell them you can't carry. Okay, all of that should be helping you in a sense, because when they're with me, they're not doing those things, okay? They might be drinking when they're sitting there at the park, but if we're doing a fellowship with them. But the few times when another cop came up that day, picked up cigarette butts, you had the whole force out there, like 5 people. A lot of them were rookies, I think. And then I talked about that one. And I have a feeling that maybe this new one that I spoke to the other day, maybe he thought, I think I'll be able to, start a good rapport with John. I think I had that sense. But now he knows different. And it's not because John just hates cops. Because of all that you've seen me talk about now, again, but for you that are new, that's created. It's one thing if I'm not really worried that any cop is going to do anything to me. But then when it extended to your family, we believe an officer illegally entered my daughter's residence because as we looked at what happened there, nobody else during the day when they were gone would have been able to walk up to that residence and make entry illegally and then go out the back without another neighbor calling the cops, saying, look, somebody just entered our neighbor's residence. But if an officer is in uniform and he might think, I'm just going to go see what's inside, no one's going to come up to him and see anything. And even if someone did say, oh, can we help? Or normally they're not going to question an officer in uniform. And then he could say, he could lie and say, oh, we just thought maybe somebody was, that's how we figured it out. Besides the fact that that's illegal, what he did. Now, what that created in me is even a good cop that says, oh, now let's start a rapport with John. Or it created in me that I see, and it won't change. You say, you mean you're never going to get along with the cops? As far as I'm concerned, when I'm doing what I do, if you don't have cause, don't come to me, okay? That's just it. My calling, you might even be a Christian, we got different callings, okay? So I do see, when you hear me talk about Black Lives Matter issues of that nature, I do see how they could have that negative effect. And Bill O'Reilly was attributing that to, I hear people say, well, if they weren't all criminals. Sometimes they're referring to all blacks. Some of those dynamics, mindsets were developed because of also harassment. I wouldn't call that young black girl that was in public housing that got a ticket for jaywalking, then the mom obviously couldn't pay it, and there was a bench warrant. She went to jail. I wouldn't really call that criminal, okay? I'd say that they're probably a single mom in a government housing thing, not stereotyping, but in a lot of the inner cities, we have a lot of problems with all that. And I'm sure every cop wouldn't have given that young black girl a jaywalking ticket, but one did. And then I listened to I've dealt with many of those. Many of those. Cops are human, I get it, I understand it. That's why you don't take, when you're a chief, you're a supervisor, things like that rise to a different level. Any acknowledgement that you had officers that were doing a lot of this stuff, which everybody here, where I live, everybody knows. Everybody that's been on the street for any period of time knows. And there's more, I'm sure, than and the ones I know about were never solicited, never asked about, though cops have asked, oh, okay, where's John? Where do you think he's going to be? What is he drinking? Is he? Look, I never solicited any of those stories, and that's why I knew they were true, the way they came to me. There's so many. So many. And so, when I see two cop cars, what do I think? Like I said, immediate negative reaction in my mind. Immediate. And you say, do you recognize? I recognize that effect has been caused by a lot of the stuff you see me talk about. That effect has been caused when you got to hear your daughter say, there they go by again, and then she called you a few weeks later, somebody went into the property, she's very upset, scared, and then we came to the conclusion, which I spoke to the supervisor, explained why we believe it was, and then he wanted the name, because captain realized, he wasn't fluffing it off, because a lot of cops that are guilty of that, the ones that are guilty of that, they immediately play it off like, oh no, that person is making something up. I mentioned the G.I. Joe case, Genowitz. There's others like that, but what the public in general doesn't understand, the Bill O'Reillys, because of the role, the authority that they have in society. When you have certain elements like that are allowed to continue. My friend Bill Walker, who died, he used to come, oh, there's a cop right now, lights. My friend Bill Walker, who died, maybe 12 years ago or so, I got a picture of Bill. He used to complain to me about the abuse. It just upset him a lot. And they, after so many times of that, and then you have the new guys get on the force, new young girls get on the force. But when they see those vehicles, they just, in their mind, those vehicles, cop vehicles, are now associated with all of the past bad experiences. My vehicle, my car, if I had 150 street friends that all drove my car, and maybe you're an officer and you said, oh, we think John's targeting us, which I'm not. But if you had that fear, and you also knew that John had 150 of those, all of his friends, some days they're going to be by the daughter's house, some days they're going to be watching you, someday, and no matter where you are in town, you go to Burger King, you maybe want to go to church, and you know, oh, there's John's friend's car's parked there again. You begin to associate every one of those cars with the negative impression. That's natural. That's natural. Because after the experiences you had with that, and so I never see a CCPD vehicle and simply think, though there's probably many good young rookies and many good cops in them, you don't associate. After a period of time, whenever you see those, you don't associate. And I blame supervisors that let that go on for so long. And then when I see a nice young girl, when I went to the Cathedral Church, and that, there's obviously going to be cop cars around there. It's downtown, right by the cop shop, the main station. And then I look, get the same negative impression immediately, and then I'll see it's a girl or a young guy, and then and do you think, John? Oh no, what I think is you have created that. That's what I think. I recognize that is an absolute negative view, and I think you have created that because of all that. Because of thinking, I just hope the cops don't go to my daughter's house again when I'm not around. Hope they're not watching when she leaves and goes to Mexico. And just and the time that took, because I had to drive and I had to go to the courthouse, speak the whole day of that. Can we make sure they don't enter again? You're not supposed to enter the residence unless you... Which was absolutely illegal. So my view is not going to change. The nice cop, I think they probably told him, look, this guy, don't approach John because, he's just... And I have a feeling the other one that came up to me is now thinking, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. He seemed that way, and don't give that a shot in the sense of don't think we're going to... I blame your supervisor for that. I do indeed blame Marco for that. Because here, where it's called Flower Bluff, everybody's been around here. A lot of them grew up in this area, so they kind of know each other. And I know some of the people that know the judges and a lot of stories here. So they kind of maybe let a lot of things pass, a lot of things slide. Something like that, the stories you heard me tell are true stories. John, did you write the feds? Yes, I did. They do have stuff that wasn't made up. Yes. And the solution is not going to come from the local chief. I heard him on the radio on Jim Lago's show the other day. I was going to listen more, but I was doing work. And when I hear him talk, I'm not like cursing at the radio. And I could see he's trying to give an opinion. I think he was on, I heard him just for a few minutes. Lago's a local radio personality. And then again, they were going to talk about, maybe, I don't know, because of stuff that I wrote, I don't know, they were going to talk about, public relations with the public. Look, all of that's real important. And I'm not damaging your public relations. I'm telling you, because of this not being dealt with for so long, that's created the problem with public relations. You say, yeah, but only most of that abuse, John, was homeless people and all, and the guys that got their asses kicked in the planning exam. No, they are public too. That's what you don't seem to understand. You seem to think public relations is only with the normal, the people that are going to watch the news at night. And no. Homeless people are also public people. They're citizens. And I guarantee you, if you had a CCPD cop beat the shit out of one of the council people or whatever, that'd be it. They'd be gone. Put a Xanax on Councilman Mark Scott. No, they'd be out of there. That cop would be in jail. So you don't realize you have a prejudice against people that are poor, people that are on the street. You have a prejudice against them. And I know you're trying to deal with a lot of the interactions when the cops did come up when I was at the park or whatever. A lot of those interactions, I could see that they were trying at times. I'm not saying that they came up to those guys since I've been back. I'm not saying they tried to Okay, guys, Lord, they try to be nice. They're trying to improve that. What I'm showing you was all of that other stuff that I mentioned. Look, those types of things, they know that some of the officers had problems with that. And they probably settled lawsuits. But they never dealt with those officers. If you think dealing with one of your officers because he assaulted multitudes illegally, if you think dealing with that meant going to the victim and saying, we promise we'll never commit a felony on you again, and then that guy's free to go to that person's house, which happened to have been right there. That's where I live back there. That's not dealing with it. This is my experience. It's not, look, there used to be a homeless guy that slept here. I didn't realize I walked right. He must have moved his camp. I left $1 for him one day, just because I would be on my ride just now, before I got here. And it was kind of up by San Antonio, heading that way. I did the turnaround over by Mathis. Sure enough, it's kind of a little deserted turnaround. But right at the turnaround, there was an Indian. He was an Indian guy. I could tell he was an Indian. But he was kind of homeless, I guess. And he was flying a sign. And I stopped. Maybe he thought I was a cop. Some people think that people is a cop. And he kind of wondered why I stopped. I think he thought, I said, hey, brother. I said, I'll give you $1. Come here. And then we talked a little bit. I said, I got a bunch of homeless friends in Corpus Christi. I give $1 a day. They all know that. So I talked to him, and then he realized, oh, no, I'm trying to just... When I see those guys like that, look, immediately I see them as friends. I run into guys walking airs, poured. Yeah, I immediately see them as friends. It's not that I'm special. That's been my congregation. That's my congregation. When you see me with friends, and when they do the crackdown here, the crackdown's intended to get the people off the street. A lot of complaints. Get the homeless off the street. Being out with those guys, whether I'm in New Jersey, whether I'm walking New York City, that really is. I could do the teaching, I could do the writing, which I do. That's really where, to me, that's where it's at, where I'm supposed to be. And they do this crackdown. I just was in the Bluff yesterday, maybe for 30 minutes or an hour. I just want to see if any of the guys were around. I ran into Bobby, and then Nina was in Whataburgers. I was out there maybe for 30 minutes, right, by the Liquid Town, by a liquor store actually, but it was in a parking lot, and that's where they happened to be walking. And now they got not only the CCPD, but they're using the constables, which is fine, but they're now kind of going to pick up to help with the problem with the guys in the streets. So I guess the constable drove by about, did this turn, did this. To me, though, and the intent is to just keep them off the street. I understand. That seems to me, there's a verse I read the other day. It talks about, it says, look, the psalm I read this morning, it says basically, God hears the cry of the poor, the oppressed. And in many of those contexts in the psalms, it's talking about oppression from authority. And says God hears that. And I was just talking with Bobby for a while, but of course you see these vehicles, driving by. Granted, you want them off the street. Grant all that. I don't think you'll see me anymore here. So are you afraid, John? To me, I don't want any contact with the police. So that's good, John. No, but even if I'm doing ministry, I'm constantly being approached. And I'm doing my best to avoid that. There's no future where 5 years, we'll be friends. No, there's none of that with me. A lot of my friends in the street, they say, I don't like the cops. They've heard me say, look, I don't want to be around the cops. So the cops were at Timmons today, they said, like 2 weeks ago. I said, I'm glad I didn't go. None of that is me, just trying to fit in with my friend. No, they know. I'm like, oh, I didn't want to be there. Sometimes they're rude. I won't give it all. They walk up. They were asked somebody once, a few months back, they were looking for somebody, and a particular cop, I think, I don't know his name, just pulls up. And I remember one day, that same cop, this is about 6-8 months ago, he just walks that thing, and the guy I talked to the other day, look, he had correct demeanor for an officer. But this other guy, he's an older guy, another one of the guys who's been around for a while. Oh, Blue Angels are starting to fly now. They're practicing. I think that's the Blue Angels right there. That means they must be, yeah, it is. Hope you could see it, because I got the camera different. They're going to do the air show. Look. I live right by the naval base. So just, this will be the last one for today. But I will never, John will eventually change. When you develop that thing, the thing about the kids, the thing about the residents, spend the whole day having to make sure, talking to the supervisor, look, he was going to talk to that officer and tell him, look, don't be going into John's daughter's residence like that. Because when I discussed it with him, he realized, when I explained some other things, he realized, oh yeah, that probably is so-and-so doing this. That's deplorable. That's deplorable. And what about the time that you're supposed to be actually doing your job? Don't you think that takes away from that? That you see, you got discipline maybe for a crime, and then you leave the station and you immediately go to the victim's house and let him know, I got away with it. And that strikes intimidation into the heart of the people that got assaulted. Saying, wow, he's back, and he's even being cocky after assaulting me. No fear that, oh, maybe I'll get fired for something like that. No, I talked my way out of it. Those are not minor things to me. Those are major. Those are major. So, as much as it's possible, stay away from me. Okay? As much as it's possible, stay away from me.